Happy anniversary to us. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Walking Stories, and thanks for celebrating our 20th anniversary with us.
We continued our celebration of CalWalks' history with another fantastic guest today, this time a former board member and chair.
So stick around as we dive in. My name is Kevin Shin, and I'm the co-executive director of California Walks.
Hi, everyone. My name's Miha Babalai, and I'm the other co-executive director of California Walks.
Today, our guest is Joe Martinez, former chair of the board for California Walks. Joe's story of personal tragedy leading to advocacy is one that we hear all too often, and we wanted to make space today to allow Joe to share his experiences.
Thanks for joining us today, Joe. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, congratulations to California Walks. Can't believe it's been 20 years. So congratulations, Miha and Kevin,
Thank
so
you.
much on
Thank
a
you so much, Joe.
milestone. So congratulations, guys. Yes, and so my journey in advocacy work has been a journey of the last 13 years. As some of you may know, I did lose my son, Paul Martinez, in 2013. He was struck and killed by a speeding driver. And as a grieving parent, I didn't have a way to express myself, and I needed to be able to do that. And there was a lot of pain and to go with that. And so the only way I could do that, I felt, was to be a voice for families who are suffering in silence, be a voice for families who don't have to suffer in silence. And then hopefully through that voice, I can affect change and then also prevent families from experiencing my pain in order to have safe streets. So I was able to do that a couple ways. One, through advocacy work in my own city of Fresno, Central Valley, where I served on a advisory board for about 4 years. And I was able to get a lot of important work done there. And then at the state level, I heard about California Walks, and I knew about the advocacy work they did, serving as a much larger voice, representing families throughout the state of California through their advocacy and education work. And so I found myself being or becoming a member of Cal Walks and doing the work that I set out to do, and being able to do that on a much larger scale, working with just as many dedicated advocates in their communities. And so collectively, we were able to be that voice and champion causes on behalf of many, many people across California, especially our families who are impacted by traffic violence. And so, yeah, so I feel like California Walks gave me that ability to do that. And I was able to not only become a member, but also I had the honor of chairing the board for the last, for 2 years.
Well, thanks for sharing that background with us, Joe, and we certainly appreciate all the work that you have done. So thanks again for joining us today for our Walking Stories podcast. As we alluded to earlier, your personal experience with the tragedy of the loss of your son really sort of kicked off your active transportation advocacy, which recently you were profiled in People magazine around that. Would you mind sharing a little bit more detail around what happened with your son and sort of how that tragedy came to be?
Yes, it's never easy to talk about something that was 100% preventable. We're talking about the loss of life. My son, Paul Martinez, was 21 years of age, and like most 21-year-olds, he loved life. He lived life to its fullest. He had dreams and goals, and one day he wanted to be either a professional basketball player with the NBA or wanted to be an artist because he loved to draw and he loved to create art. Unfortunately, all that ended on June 5th uh, when Paul was struck and killed while crossing a widely used street in our city of Fresno, which is the largest city in the Central Valley. And so to be a parent and to lose a child, that's so unnatural because no parent ever should have to be in that type of situation. And that's exactly where I found myself. I found myself in a place that I did not want to be. And so for Paul, that was really hard for me because he is my only son. And to lose your only kid at 21 years of age and me being barely in my 40s, it was like a double loss in a sense. And so it was really, really hard, really difficult as a parent. And so that story was shared by many, many um, audiences, community. It's been told and shared by national organizations who I proudly partner with, including Families Safe Streets, Project Vision Zero, the Safe the Safety Council. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Apparently, People Magazine had reached out to Families for Safe Streets. It seemed that one of the editors had a personal experience with a family member being injured or possibly even killed by a speeding or distracted driver. So that resonated with the writer of People Magazine. So the writer then reached out and asked if there was anyone or any family that was willing to share their story so that way that story could end up in People Magazine, not so much not for the sensationalism, but for a message of hope and inspiration, and to remind people that every life matters, and also to remind readers if you happen to be distracted while you're driving and you find yourself speeding, you need to figure out how to not be distracted and to slow down because that one moment cost the life of one person. And so by me sharing that story, I was wanting to bring a message of hope and inspiration. I wasn't looking for blame. I wasn't looking for to put blame on anyone, but simply it was just a message of let's change our behavior, let's change the way we drive, let's slow down, let's pay attention, and hopefully, we could prevent the loss of a life. And in this instance, it was the life of my son, whose life was taken away, and it was 100% preventable because it was the distracted and it was the speeding driver who took Paul's life.
Joe, I actually saw the People Magazine article because we have a lot of book boxes, the little book boxes around my neighborhood, and I take my kids out to walk, and that's one of the kind of like little carrots I hold in front of them to get them to come out of the house. And someone had left it in the book box, and I was just so thankful, first of all, to see that People Magazine was featuring a story like yours and Families for Safe Streets because they're a big platform. And like you said, can reach a lot of audience, people that walk, drive, obviously, and just many people that are impacted by traffic collisions, whether they're seriously injured, mildly injured, or lose their lives. And I just thought that was a very very thoughtful of them to do that. And then I saw you posted it on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, we should talk to Joe about it because it's I've
Yeah.
never known anyone to be featured in People Magazine. I hope that that other communication and media outlets follow suit and highlight these real stories that so many of us can relate to. Now, I think I met you in 2014 in Oakland when CalWalks was doing their first strategic plan. I think you and Steve Gerhardt were one of the first ones that I met. So you got really involved pretty early on after the loss of Paul. Um, how was it that did you just contact CalWalks and say I want to be involved, or was there a connection? Because you've honestly, I think, stayed involved pretty much up to the present in some way. And obviously the organization has benefited from your experience, your knowledge, your advocacy greatly.
Yes, Miha, that's exactly right. I can't believe it's been that long. Yes, I was looking for an organization that did advocacy work and education on pedestrian safety, and there just wasn't an organization out there that I was aware of that I knew about. And it wasn't until I saw something on social media that talked about Cal Walks and the work that you did and the advocacy work that was being done. And I knew that this had to be the right organization and the right fit for me because I was wanting to be heard, first of all, as a parent, a grieving parent, and I wanted to be heard in the sense that more needed to be done to educate the public about the importance of pedestrian safety and about the importance of speed and the importance of vehicles. And so I felt CalWalks was the organization for me. So you're right. I attended one of your first conferences or summits, as I recall, and then I got connected with the members and I started participating. And next thing I know, I got invited to come to more of these types of gatherings. Then eventually there was an opportunity to become a member of CalWalks. Of course, I jumped on the first chance I got. And then I wanted to be not just a member, but an active member. And I have to say that it's just the whole group is very active and engaged. And that's what I liked about it because there was so much positive synergy in that group. And we were all striving for the same thing. And we all had the same vision and the same goal. And we were all had the same kind of energy that was in that room. And it was just so amazing to see that engagement. And so that was probably the easiest decision I ever made. And it was for that reason and many more that not only was I an active member, but I continued to stay active to the point where eventually I got into more of the leadership role of CalWalks. But yeah, I found a fit. I found a voice that I could definitely get behind, and and what I've learned from CalWalks, I was able to take away and use it not only in my community, city of Fresno, but also continued on the state platform, and now I'm on a national platform as well.
Mhm.
So I really feel like these were the building blocks that allowed me to be able to receive the nurturing that I needed and the support that I needed in order to grow and learn into a leadership role, and then being able to use things that I learned and applied it wherever I needed to in the community. But I really like the fact that CalWalks was an organization that really believed in its mission, its core mission. They believed and valued the members who help move, make that not just a moment, but a movement within the other state of California. And they were actually doers. I had never
Mhm.
met an organization or a group of people who were so dedicated to what they believed in. And so for me, it was like I felt like I found my home.
Mhm. That's wonderful
That
to hear. Yeah, the organization was like not quite in its infancy then, but really was taking off. And what I think it was a great time for me as well personally to join. And I echo a lot of the leadership growth and just personal learning that I got out of CalWalks like you did.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's so great to hear that you feel like it helped to set you up for future successes and future opportunities to stay engaged. So, actually, tell us a little bit more about today. How are you staying engaged in active transportation and safety advocacy? You mentioned that you've got a national platform that you're working with as well. Tell us more about that.
Kevin, that's a great segue into that question. Kevin, I've actually helped lead a statewide bill last year. It was called the Safe Speed Camera Bill, and at that time, I was asked to join the Families for Safe Streets Bay Area chapter, and so I did get on board with that campaign, and I did a lot of lobby work, a lot of education. We talked with the media, we did walks, we met with statewide leaders. I served as an expert witness for the key sponsor of that bill. I believe it was Senator Wiener's office, Scott Wiener. And so I'll never forget going before the assembly and having all these assembly members looking down at me. And I was asked to give testimony to the bill. And I'll never forget when after we had just left uh, Capitol, the Capitol after spending 8 hours meeting with legislator after legislator, and then testifying before uh, that very last committee before it was to go to the governor's office. We didn't find out until we got back on our bus after spending the entire day in Sacramento, and we headed back to San Francisco. And it wasn't until we nearly arrived in San Francisco that we heard that the bill had been approved by the very last committee, and now it would head to the governor's office for signature. So that was a major, major victory for those of us who had been working so hard on that bill. And so for me, that was just it was so surreal because we got to see it was like it was real time, you know what I mean? And it was
Right.
once they told us we were exhausted from our day trip, but we were excited. We did find the energy and excitement to scream and yell and everything, even though the air went out on our bus, Kev. And we were and it was so stuffy and so hot, and I used the ice from the cooler to put on my head all the way back because it was just so hot. But we forgot about being hot, and we were so excited all the way back. So that's just
They were just
one
building you
example.
up.
Yes, I guess so. Kevin, also, I was involved with, I'll never forget meeting at that time the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She was holding a press conference in San Francisco. I was invited to be part of that press event, and that was at that time that was the Build Back Better infrastructure bill. And as you know, there
Right.
was billions of dollars set aside by the Biden administration, and several millions, hundreds of millions of dollars were also set aside, focused on safe street measures. And so Pelosi was there to talk about that, but also she was there to meet the families of safe streets. And so my son Paul was one of the family members that she wanted to highlight. So I'll never forget standing next to the Speaker of the House, and she's holding up a poster size 18 by 24 poster of Paul, and the poster read um, something along the lines of collisions, not accidents, or something to that effect.
Mm.
And they had a picture of Paul, and they had his date of birth, and then his when he transitioned date. And so to me, and I looked over, and I'm standing next to the Speaker of the House, and I just couldn't believe this was happening. I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing and she's holding up Paul's poster. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. And so as if that wasn't enough, I also had an opportunity to meet with the the Secretary of Transportation at that time, Pete Buttigieg.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, they were looking for 10 families who were impacted by traffic violence. And so our family, Martinez family, was selected. And so I had an opportunity to meet and talk with the transportation secretary, and he is as real as you can get when we're talking about a real, sincere, genuine person, a politician for the people and of the people. And you could tell he was really, really listening to what I was saying about what could be done so that other families don't have to experience our pain in order to
Right.
have safe streets, right? Kind of thing. And so, I mean, the list, I can go on and on and on, but it was just, I was going from campaign to campaign to campaign to campaign and meeting with, you know, folks like this. But for me, it was meeting with the families and advocating with the families of Families for Safe Streets, to me, that I feel like has been the most beneficial part of being an advocate and being a voice for families. We had an opportunity to meet all these uh, very, very powerful, influential people. But to me, it's hearing from the families and listening to their stories, and and um, how the loss of our loved ones has empowered us and given us a voice, and allowing us to have this strength, this inner strength, to be able to go forward and serve as advocates. To me, I feel like these families have had even a bigger impact and influence on me, aside from the Speaker of the House or the Transportation Secretary or the Senator Scott Wiener folks. But yeah, the newest thing we are working on is the Stop Super Speeders bill.
Hmm.
Um, at that time, I believe Senator Gibson from Los Angeles was the sponsoring assembly member or senator. from Los Angeles, and I believe he's running now for statewide office. So they were looking for a new sponsor or co-sponsor of the bill, and we didn't have that person until Friday. I did receive a message early that Friday from the National Families for Safe Streets, and they told me, "Hey Joe, you need to know that your assembly member from your own Central Valley, Esmeralda Soria, has introduced a Stop Super Speeders bill, and she would like to include your story in her press release." And so I just couldn't believe it. I was like, "What?" We actually have an assembly member from my own backyard who has endorsed this bill. And I mean, oh my gosh, I was so excited to hear that. And I look forward to working with the assembly member because I do know her. As a disclaimer, I did serve with her when she was a council member back in Fresno. And so I
Okay,
know her personally.
Mm.
Yeah,
nice,
yeah. And now she's an assembly member.
great.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
that bill, we're supposed to be getting a briefing on it this upcoming Thursday, and so
Oh,
we're
awesome. Awesome.
recording this at the end of February. So hopefully by the time this is actually released, we'll have some more details about the bill and about the
Awesome.
specifics of the bill. So looking forward to learning more about it and seeing what that does. I think in the past, one of the big challenges we've had with bills in particular that addressed speeding through the installation of the speed monitoring or speed limiting devices is um, that those devices have always been passive devices, so it's not a situation where like it will actively reduce the speed of the vehicle or prevent the vehicle from hitting a certain speed. Instead,
Right.
it simply provides a notification to the driver that they're exceeding the speed limit. And so it'll be interesting to see how this bill is different, how it's going to treat that differently, whether or not they're going to include things like the buffer, which they've included in the past, because there's always been like a 10 mile an hour over the speed limit
Yes.
buffer.
Yes.
So it'll be really interesting to see how this bill sort of addresses some of those concerns, because obviously for folks who meet this sort of super speeders category, these are people who make it a habit, right, and who are habitually
Yes. These are
violating the
repeat
laws.
offenders.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Egregious repeat offenders. And so it'll be really interesting to see how much more we can be strict about some of these measures to ensure the safety of everyone around them.
That's right. That's right. I definitely agree. Those things need to be worked out. And the good news is there is still time to work these things out. But yeah, definitely, you're right. So I kind of feel like this is going to be our opportunity to educate not only Esmeralda Soria, the Assemblywoman, who is sponsoring this bill, but also our other legislators.
Right.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Joe, about the current challenges with distracted driving and speeding. And there's been a lot of changes in technology for cars and the devices we hold in our hands, and
Mhm.
distracted driving and speeding
Yep.
continues and has even seen a rise in many communities. How would you like to see the state change its rules related to these issues? If it was up to you, what would they do?
Well, I think we need to look at other countries that are already using this type of technology. It's already being used in Europe, I believe,
Right.
and so it does work. And California has always led the nation when it comes to safety, and especially around road safety, speed safety, vehicle safety, and road safety. And so I think this is people are expecting California to take the lead on this. And as they say, what happens in California, the rest of the nation will follow. And so I think that's something that we need to look at. And then also think about what's being done now. I mean, like if someone is a repeat offender, let's say, and they have to use a breath analyzer, for example, or one of those
Right.
breath uh, things that they breathe into in order to operate the vehicle. This is no different
Right.
than that. And this technology is available now. This technology can prevent death, it can prevent injuries. And so I see that as a good thing. And anything we can do to slow traffic down, make it more safe, make our vehicles more safe, and even making our roads safe as well. I think that all goes hand in hand. And so I definitely support anything, especially technology, and especially if we have it now, which we do, that can save lives. And so I've kind of felt like this is just one more step for California to be the leader and make this happen so that all of our streets are safe and nobody has to be injured or killed when this could have been prevented.
Right. Absolutely.
So I totally support the speed intelligence technology that is available now and can be used in order to address the behavior repeat offenders when it comes to speed.
Absolutely. So, Joe, now that we, like over the years, right, we've all come to the understanding that the definition of safety varies significantly for different communities. So, in your work now with Families for Safe Streets, as well as through some of these other initiatives, how has your understanding of safety evolved with time, especially given how more and more people are feeling strong concerns about how law enforcement interacts with certain communities. Like, do you have a sense of how that definition of safety has changed for you personally as well as for the movement?
Yes, I'll never forget when Mayor Dan Lurie had said at the unveiling of the safe speed camera in San Francisco that I attended almost a year ago, and he was quoted as saying, "Street safety is public safety," and he believes they go hand in hand. That you can't separate the two. In other words, it's the same
Right.
thing. And so I definitely agree with that um, opinion. I think that safety has to be number one when it comes to designing our roads. It has to be number one when we are setting speed limits in our communities. In fact, here in Fresno, there's a new law that's coming out, a California law that's coming out in a couple of months, but we're not waiting when it's coming to reducing speed limit, I believe, around schools.
Around school
Uh,
districts. Yeah.
yes. And so our city council is meeting this coming Thursday to say we want to do it now. We don't want to wait 2 months because it's become a safety issue for our school kids. Just simply crossing the street or walking to school or riding your bike, uh, our kids can be injured. And sadly, this last year, we've had a record number of students who were either injured or killed on their way to
Mm.
school or they after leaving school because somebody was distracted or speeding and caused this collision. And so, yeah, I would just say basically just on the whole safety issue that everyone deserves to be safe. Everyone deserves to be safe when walking, riding their bike, or driving. And something has to be done to address the fact that speed is killing people over and over and over again. And speed is the number one cause of death among pedestrians and cyclists in California. I don't know if I answered your question. Uh,
Thank you, though. No, that's great. No,
yeah.
it's true, and I think that in our work with communities, we've seen that definition of safety evolve. Um, and communities are thinking much more broadly about the environment they want to walk and bike in. We see it in the recommendations that they have and the priorities that they have for the community. We're moving beyond just we need the sidewalk segment filled or we need a crosswalk. We're thinking more holistically about the street and then even broader the network and the community. And I think that's been great. And taken off the focus off of these like small incremental changes to look at the system itself.
Right.
And I know at the federal level, the state level, and in a lot of our work, we talk about the safe systems approach. And that's the way to go, because fixing one thing at a time, one road at a time, isn't going to get us anywhere. Um, Now we're doing the podcast for the 20-year anniversary, and the the organization has been involved in pedestrian advocacy, in very different ways, technical assistance at the state level, a lot of program work, a lot of trainings across the state. What role do you think CalWalks should take in the pedestrian advocacy movement and advancing pedestrian safety goals in the next 20 years?
Well, definitely, CalWalks has really been at the forefront of addressing pedestrian safety and has done a really good job with community engagement. I feel like that has been its strength, has been an advocate on safety on so many different levels on the state level, especially when it comes to these proposed bills that eventually become laws. I think educating our community at large as well is something that I believe CalWalks has been really strong at. I'd like to see CalWalks continue to take on these initiatives that are very important in our community. You mentioned the safe systems approach. Vision Zero is something that I'd really like to see CalWalks be much more active and engaged in our communities and take on a leadership role. I think that would be really, really important for that. Also, advocating for more funding so that when we implement programs or initiatives or whatever you want to call Vision Zero, it needs funding in order to implement the plans that these communities are coming up with to address safety in their communities. I also see CalWalks being involved. Also, like I would say, like supporting the families too that are being impacted by traffic violence. Unfortunately, there's not enough support out there. That's why I even got involved with CalWalks and the active transportation program back in my community, because there was nowhere or no one that I could turn to in my time of need. So if CalWalks is wanting to be more in a supporting role for families who are impacted by traffic violence, I could definitely see CalWalks taking on that initiative as well. Being an organization for resources for communities, a lot of times we just don't know what's out there, and
Right.
having one place to go to get that information, things like data, just trying to get data, uh, for example, on pedestrian crashes is almost like pulling teeth because some of these agencies or law enforcement agencies don't want to share the data, or it's not real-time data. They're giving us data from 5 years ago, and we need new data. We need data that's like right now, current. I think that's really important as well. Um, but yeah, those are just some examples, Miha, that I would say. So again, continue to build on what you already have because it's working for you. Um, but I would continue to build on taking on these initiatives, being an advocate for our communities around safety, assisting us in identifying and possibly securing new funding or funding opportunities, especially around Vision Zero, because we all have been asked to create these wonderful Vision Zero plans, but how are we going to fund them? So these are just all examples of what I'm talking about. And then whenever there are bills that are out there, me on all that, we'd love to see you folks taking a very active role in helping to advocate for these bills and through lobbying. I'm using that word lobbying or advocacy work, because sometimes I felt like we were just out there on our own when we were meeting with our state legislators. There's strength in numbers. So I kind of felt like that was a lot of work that we were asked to do. And in the end, it did pay off. but I kind of felt like at times we were kind of out there on our own, and it was hard to see where the support was at when we were the ones doing a lot of the legwork at the Capitol and spending hours and hours, weekends and months lobbying for like this last bill, the safe speed camera bill. It got passed, but it took a lot of work.
Right.
So these are
And
just some examples that I'm thinking that maybe you guys could consider or think about.
Wonderful. Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely. And, I think a lot of things that you've mentioned are things that we have, continued to try to do or continue to work towards. And I think,
Oh no,
to your point
I'm
of,
shutting down. I'm shutting down for some reason, guys.
oh, are we going to lose you in just a minute? All right. Well, unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we lost Joe, the connection with Joe just now. But as I'm about to say, a lot of the things that Joe had mentioned are things that we are working towards. We've been working to build new coalitions and working to support new ideas and opportunities. So stay tuned. We'll have lots more to share. If you aren't signed up for our newsletter, please sign up and you'll get the latest information from us about all of the initiatives that we're currently working towards. Um, with that, unfortunately, we can't thank Joe, but we want to make sure that we appreciate him being here today and appreciate his sharing with us his experience and his thoughts on our organization's history as well as the organization's future.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for taking the time to connect with us today. And I'm especially thankful that you stepped up to be board chair during the pandemic. And thank you for your leadership during that time. And I'm excited to see where you continue to grow and reach with your advocacy work.
Well, and of course, we've got lots of great guests lined up to share their stories with us this year. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when new episodes hit each month. We've got lots more great stories about how CalWalks has fought for improved roadway safety across the state over the years.
Yeah, and a special thank you to the California Endowment for their support in making this podcast possible.
And CalWalks is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we rely on your support to help make our advocacy and education work possible. You can help support our efforts by visiting calwalks.org/donate or purchasing your very own CalWalks t-shirt at our online store, much like the one that I'm wearing right now. Links are in the description, or you can visit calwalks.org/merch store. And we've added some new gear just before this past holiday season, so take the opportunity to check it out.
So thanks for listening to today's Walking Stories podcast. There are many more stories afoot that we look forward to bringing you this year. Until next time.